The Seattle Sounders' brand new 2025 kit is here. Inspired by two traditional Southern Coast Salish weaving techniques, twilling and twinning. These techniques, passed down through generations, honor the resilience, deep-rooted ties, and creativity that define the cultural fabric of this region. The striking deep blue jersey will be worn by the Sounders for the next 2 seasons to honor the club's deep connection with the Puget Sound and shared responsibility as stewards of the greater Salish Sea watershed. Backing up that commitment, the Seattle Sounders will donate up to $50,000 to benefit community charities around the Puget Sound region. To get your very own Salish Sea kit, visit lobbingscorchers.com/kit. That's lobbingscorchers.com/KIT.
Good evening, everybody. We are live. Welcome in to another episode of Under the Lights, our Thursday night live stream. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. We've got another banger stream for you tonight. It's a dub stream, guys. Not a dub pod, but a dub stream. Seattle Sounders advancing to the Concacaf Champions Cup Round of 16, 6-2 on aggregate after posting back-to-back 3-1 victories in leg 1 and leg 2 of the round 1 series against Antigua. It was a party at Lumen Field. The XG was flying. The goals were going in. And Pedro de la Vega looks like a footballing demigod. 2 more goals for the kid. The vibes are high. We're going to talk about all that, break that down. I am going to look at the other CONCACAF Champions Cup results from last night that have taken place so far. We're going to talk about this Real Salt Lake game a little bit. And as always, if you have got questions, topics, observations, and agendas, go ahead and drop them in chat. I'm going to hit a couple of housekeeping items before I get into all that, though. If you could go ahead right now and like the video, really helps us out. The algorithm is really into that. The sentient being known as the algo. If it sees that a video gets liked a lot of times, apparently it loves it. So go ahead and like the video. Sub to the channel. If you haven't already, if you're watching this and you haven't subbed to the channel, I mean, I don't know what we're doing. Sub to the channel. Also, I've got a lot more written content that I'm going to be doing this year that I wanted to plug. Some of you might have noticed that I've taken over the links column for Sounder at Heart from the great Dave Clark. So basically, all that is me riffing a column and then posting a bunch of links, either from Sounder at Heart or from other outlets that are covering the Sounders. So I wrote a debut column on Sounder at Heart. So keep an eye on that, eye out for that every Monday this season. And then also, I'm going to do some screen sharing here. If you give me a second. This is exciting. I've taken over MLSsoccer.com's Young Players of the Match Day from Charlie Baum. I'm kind of just like, I guess, pilfering other people's columns. I'm doing Young Players of the Match Day this year. This was my first one. I don't know if it was as good as Charlie's, but I did my best. But so basically the way, if you're unfamiliar, this is just a weekly spotlight on the website of the best young player performers from every single match day. So I'll be perusing all the results from around MLS every match day, highlighting the best young player performers. As you can see for this first one, got Brian Gutierrez, this guy from Inter Miami who scored a goal. This guy from NYCFC scored. You get the idea. I was already taking heat because I didn't include Obed in my 5 selections or in my honorable mentions. I will explain that really quick, which is that, well, first of all, it's what's called a lose-lose. Because if I pick Seattle guys, then everyone else in the country says I'm being a homer. But then, like this week, if I leave Obed off, everyone assails my character for that. So I really can't win. I decided Obed could have made it. He could have made it. I decided to like try and not be a homer for this one, I guess. But don't worry, there will be plenty of time for Obed and any other worthy Sounders player to be highlighted here. I'm not gonna like leave him off every week. I didn't have him in this one, so if that upsets you, sorry. Matt Sexton, thank you for the $5 super chat. Appreciate you. Ready to play a drinking game with bot purveyor agenda and oligarch tonight. Might need Noah to hop on. Noah said he might hop on later. I don't know. He's got school or something. So you're probably getting lit with that drinking game. That's for sure. Thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated. Anyway, yeah, that's my plug for Young Players of the Match Day. I will be crowdsourcing for that on Blue Sky. So keep an eye out for, if you have suggestions and you're like, this guy really needs to be in there, you can reply to my Blue Sky post and I might consider your feedback. Okay. Stop screen sharing. I think that was all the housekeeping I had at the top of the show. Like the video, sub to the channel, do all that. Okay. The first thing that I wanted to do tonight is I crowdsourced, I blue sky crowdsourced some topics, some questions and stuff after the game last night. Normally I just go through those and pick out a few for the result pod, but in this case, since this is our first like game reaction, like immediate game reaction stream, I'm just gonna pull these up and I'll start going through these just to get the ball rolling. And then if you guys have stuff that you want me to talk about in chat, go ahead and drop it in there, and I will do my best to get to it. New YouTube member, Rhombus Labs. Rhombus, appreciate you. Longtime supporter. If you want to support us, this is another great way. Become a YouTube member. That's arguably one of the best ways, I would say. Rhombus, appreciate you. You can call them skeets. I guess that's what I got to start. I guess that became like the mainstream thing to call them. So yeah. Already a Sounder at Heart member, but I'm being a YouTube member of you guys. Appreciate that. All right, so 1 second here. I'm going to pull up your guys' topics from Blue Sky, and we will get going. Okay. There's the skeet right there. I'm just going to scroll down these, and like I said, just riff off a couple of these just to get the ball rolling, and then basically taking from there. I don't have a guest lined up tonight. Shout out Top in 90 for coming on before the Charlotte game. I'm going to try and do more guests this season. Use this Under the Lights show to get guests from ideally that content creators and podcasters that cover other teams, but I was not able to do that this week. I guess I didn't try. Mic is bugging. Okay. Audio is chopped. Oh shit. Hold on. Check.
Listen, I don't know what's going on with Ari, but I'm coming on here to save the day, to save the content.
What is going on with it?
Dude, I don't know. Seems like it's the cable. So might have to grab another cable from the box. But in the meantime, listen, folks, I'm here. What do you got for me? What kind of questions do we have? There we go. He's hiding himself. Look at this. Now I'm running the live stream. I have got a terrible mic quality, but I'm going to pretend like I'm Ari here. I'm going to pretend like I'm scrolling here. Pedro de la Vega looked like a footballing demigod, and the Seattle Sounders are through the CCC round of 16, 6-2 on the aggregate, and you can drop your questions. Jeremiah looks like he responded here. Let's start with this one. Let's see here. Oh my gosh, you've got so many questions. I like this one. Noah, when did you first find out Ari was actually a robot? It was today. I never thought he was a part of the bot squad, but unfortunately, due to this audio issue, he might actually be, in fact, a robot. Ari,
can you hear me now?
Look at that, fixed.
Okay.
I think it must have been the cabling.
No, I think the mic got switched somehow, but I don't understand how because I didn't even do that.
Weird.
So,
you sound great though.
chat.
Should we just do Moose Discourse right now just
do you want to do the Moose Discourse? You don't if you were doing other stuff now that it's audio's fixed, you can go. But
well, once my girlfriend gets here, we're gonna go pick up some new chairs for the Lobbing Scorchers mansion, but I can do some Moose Discourse real quick with you. Unless that's like you're scared.
I mean,
you're scared to dive into the Moose course.
No, I'm not scared of it. I will say, speaking for myself, I'm not here to pile on Moose. You know, I know there was a lot of that going on last night. He missed a few chances. He was A-bearing out there. He was racking up the.
Was he A-bearing? At least A-bear's shots were on target.
Were they? I mean, he
was an XG merchant for sure.
Well, Moose was definitely XG merchanting out there. I'm not gonna pile on the number 3 striker in a game where the team scored 3 goals and looked great on offense. So,
but I am.
You can.
Here's what I'll say. Ari. My favorite Moose play of the game was when he started to dribble the ball just around and around, and he had like all these defenders on him, and he didn't know what to do. It looked like, the song when they go like, yeah, it literally just like that's all that was playing in my head. His positioning was pretty bad, like it always is. And
I thought his positioning last night was actually pretty. To get chances like that to miss, your positioning has to be pretty good, doesn't it?
I mean, I don't know. I think from my perspective, his off the ball positioning was pretty bad. But we all know I'm a hater, and I'm not very
You're not objective on this.
I'm not objective. No, not at all.
Look,
I was getting tilted in the press box, and like you're not allowed to get tilted in the press box. Like Moose was going to get me kicked out of the PB.
I'm not going to deny that it was comical because of all the Moose discourse that we've had on this show and other platforms. And I feel like that game last night was sort of it was like the Moose magnum opus, It was beautifully evil. It was beautifully terrible. But see, like that's it's just low on my concern list. The number 3 striker missing a couple chances, low on my concern list. My concern is more that the team advanced, but did so in convincing fashion, and the players that are going to have to carry the load this year, which Moose is not part of that group in a first choice squad.
And I wish him
continue to look great. So,
and I wish him well.
But I'm glad you got your Moose takes in, because with that game, I mean the takes were flying around last night, and I think most people were being good natured about it because it was a game where the team was kicking ass. But
yeah, I do feel bad for the guy. I mean, he's when we talked to Happyfoot Sadfoot, they kind of shared the intel that he's a very like street like a vibes based player. Like he needs to be playing and playing well to actually play. Like he's not a really good backup striker. So I feel bad for the guy. Clearly he has some kind of talent. He's way better than I could ever be. And with that, I need someone to cut that clip of him, where he kind of like held the ball for like a really long time, evading defenders, but also just like flailing his arms everywhere, and put that like circus song behind
That
it. If someone can
frankly,
do that, I will give
sounds like
you.
some content that you would make. So
Yeah, I just like I'm busy now. I'm a business owner. You
all right.
know,
I'm glad
Lobbing
we
Sports
got
is
that. Are
business
you?
owner.
Do you want to stick around for the blue
I'll
sky
let you. I'll let you
South
hit
Florida
it.
stuff,
I
or
love you, chat. Thank you all for listening to me moose around,
thanks for
and
the assist. I would still be talking like a bot right now.
it's
Chat.
okay.
If I end up talking like a bot again, just let me know, because honestly, I had no idea. Most certainly did not switch the mic input. I don't know how that happened. So,
Well,
uh,
who knows? You're killing it, Ari. All right.
thanks.
Bye,
Yeah.
chat. I love you. Bye.
I think this is the third episode of Under the Lights, and I'm pretty sure I've had a technology debacle in all three, but that was honestly one of the less painful ones. So we're going to keep it moving. All right. Back to what I was doing before that little detour. Appreciate you bearing with me. All right. We're back. I'm going to start going through some of these. We'll see how many I make it through. I just want to, like I said, get the ball rolling. And we had a Jo responded to my skeet. So that's a celebrity appearance in my mentions. He said, long time, first time, since the Sounders held a 1-goal lead at the 85th minute and added a goal, does that count as a point against the can't hold leads at home agenda? It does, which I think is a positive step. I don't think that it undermines the talking point until they because that stuff, the people who were talking about that, I think were correct in that it actually was a pattern that goes back to last year. So they need to counter the pattern with a new pattern that doesn't follow that pattern, and then that agenda will be dead. That agenda might still get pushed, but with how they closed out the series last night, not only holding the lead but adding a goal, that's a good step in a positive direction. Step in the positive direction. Mike Standish, my guy, based on the season thus far, which player name number should I get on the back of my new Salish jersey? And then someone replied with Moose. I would my answer for that would be Georgie. That's just me personally, though. I feel like he's a good jersey right now. It's one of those. If you get a Georgie jersey, it's one of those that it's like a bet that could pay off very handsomely in the future. You know, a guy like Christian Roldan, it's like you know what you're getting. You don't even have to worry about it. A Georgie kit, it's a hedge on upside. We got some more Moose slander. We don't need to do that. Jeff says, small sample size tonight, but it seems like Manungu's crosses were much more dangerous tonight. Was that just me? No, I don't think that was just you. But I feel like he had the assist in the away leg too. You know, I feel like the thing that I've been most encouraged about with Georgie for these first few games is the end product that has come off on those 2 assists. You know, he's still got to show that he can do that consistently. But the fact that they've played 3 games and he's already got 2 assists in the time that he's gotten on the field, it's a great sign. You're pushing the I knew about Georgie before he was cool hipster angle. Bold choice. I mean, I wasn't saying I knew about him before he was cool. I was saying that if you bought a kit, you would you'd be able to kind of say that if he becomes like a superstar. You see what I'm saying? Ben says Pedro de la Vega and Ferreira were cooking tonight. Ferreira in particular was dropping some dimes. I think he could hit 20 plus assists in all comps this year. Yeah, his facilitating has been really good so far. I love how he's been combining with everybody. I thought you really saw. I was saying this the whole time after he got acquired that I felt like the biggest impact that he could have might be as a facilitator and not even as a goal scorer. And you're seeing, I think, what I meant so far. He's such an unselfish player. I think it. I don't know if there's anything to this, but it kind of looks like to me that he's almost being like more deferential right now than he was during his FC Dallas days, because I think he wants to fit in on the team. He wants everybody to like him and like playing with him. So he's like, here, I'll try and set you up here and set you up there. He had a great through ball to Jordan last night, which I really I want to see them combining like that, of course. And then his assist to Paul Arriola was great. He megged the guy on the assist. I don't know if you guys caught that. I only caught that when I was watching the highlights again today. I'm pretty sure he megged the guy on the assist. And then he and Arriola, you can tell, have played together a lot. So that was just a great goal. And I really like what I'm seeing from Ferreira so far, guys. I know he doesn't have a goal yet, but I think that'll come. He's had 2 really good looks. He had a really clean look in Antigua that De La Vega set him up for, where I feel like if you give him that look, a lot of times he's going to start finishing that. And then last night, the one that he put over the bar, he hit that pretty nice. It was high, but he hit it pretty nice. And I've seen him make that at FC Dallas. Like that is one that is, I can tell you for sure, is in his bag. But yeah, he's looked great so far. I think the thing that makes him a better fit, honestly, than a more like prototypical number 9. A lot of people wanted them to sign him like a 9 in the mold of like a Chicho Arango or like that, theoretically to upgrade on Jordan or whatever. But I think with Ferreira, the versatility and the unselfishness make him just fit in really well. So definitely just really been enjoying watching him play. How strengthened is the Pedro not a bust and actually very good agenda? We're going to talk about that, and that's going to be the next topic. I'm probably just going to hit a couple more of these and then get into the other topics I was going to talk about and take some more stuff from chat. This was just to get it started. Okay, I like this. This was a someone being a contrarian to the Moose hate, so I'm going to read this one, then we'll get on to the main topics. Sammy says, just want to be contrary to all the Moose hate. He had some rough plays, but people are all too eager to hate, and he played a not insignificant role in the 3rd goal. I just hope the coaches don't write him off completely. I can still imagine him coming into form. Let him play RSL this weekend. Thank you for that, Sammy. I love that. Some Moose optimism. Like I said, I don't really I know he didn't have a great game, but I really don't see the need to pile on the number 3 striker when the team looked as good as it did last night. Like, what are we doing? It's just unnecessary. And I know it sounds funny to say, but what I would say to Noah, I think, is like to miss chances like that, you have to be doing something right to get those looks, don't you? I don't know. Maybe that's just cope. Maybe that's rationalization. But I find it hard to believe that Moose is going to XG merchant his entire time in this city. Like, the reason that it was considered kind of a sneaky under the radar signing is that if you look at Moose's numbers for his career, he hasn't gotten a full complement of minutes anywhere he's been, but like his underlying efficiency numbers were really good. So I understood the process behind why they signed him as the depth striker. It's just, I don't know if that position on the roster is just cursed right now or what, but it really feels like since Will Bruin, they haven't been able to fill that spot with consistent production, which someone pointed it out, but it's not necessarily easy to have a really high quality number 3 striker, because if they were a super high quality striker, they would be number 2 or the starting striker, So, all right. Thank you to everyone who submitted for those. That was good stuff. You can always, I always put those out after every game, and we read them as many as we can on the follow-up pods, but that was a good one for this live show. Appreciate you guys. All right, I'm gonna look at some chat right now real quick, and then we will gonna move on to some of the topics that I had to cover tonight. Bad sequels. How's it going, bad sequels? Do you like how Deep Ferreira ends up playing versus playing so high as a striker? I think that sort of depends on the matchup and who he's playing with. But I don't mind him. I don't mind him playing deep because he's got that in his skill set. You know, I think for how they were lined up last night, I think that was what he was supposed to be doing. Like, basically, he was kind of playing as like a pure 10 with a little bit of second striker in there. That's kind of how I saw it. But to answer your question, I don't mind him lining up like that. What do you make of the center mids and the center attacking mid position at left wing back and build out at times? Well, I was advocating for De La Vega to get some run at left wing back during preseason when we were playing with the lineup builder. So, yeah, I don't mind that. Agree with the Moose rationalization. Appreciate that. Let's see. Pat 55 word. Do you remember that Jesus has an attitude problem discourse? Am I completely disproven from how he's been playing? Yeah, I don't remember that being that big a talking point. I was never all that concerned. I think the question was of his buy-in. I was never that concerned about that because, I mean, first of all, like, just on a base level, he knows and is friends with a bunch of the guys on the team already from the national team. So he's not going to want to come in and like be not bought in and ruffle feathers with guys that he's friends with. But also, like, even outside of that, like, he's got a lot on the line as far as he wants to boost his stock, I think, for to go to Europe. And to do that, he needs to ball out this season with Seattle. So, I mean, it's not like he could have any more incentive to be fully bought in. And like I said, I think I've been encouraged from watching how he's tried to play so far. Like, I feel like he's almost being like overly deferential in trying to set people up, you know? So, which I think is good, but eventually I do want and expect him to start getting on the score sheet himself. Steven, this is a good question. Anyone else at least a little worried about how leaky the back line has looked through 3 games? I think the Charlotte game, both concessions were tilting. The concessions in the Antigua series, the one in the away leg was bad. In the game last night, I thought the defense was the best game the defense has had so far. I know that they conceded the 1 goal, but outside of that, it felt like not only did Antigua not have very many good chances, but I thought Seattle's press was excellent last night. They were just swarming Antigua every time they had the ball, and they won possession off them a ton of times through just the press. So I actually definitely the Charlotte game, the defense was tilting, but last night I thought it looked a lot more like the Seattle Sounders defense, and it helped the offense for them to be playing like that on defense. So I thought that was the best part, honestly. Well, the offense scoring another 3 goals was the best part, but it was really good to see the defense kind of bounce back after the Charlotte debacle. Jesus, far better striker, dropping deeper than Raul ever was. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't Raul's game. He was the more the prototypical 9. Ooh, this is a good question from Brando. Is Pedro de la Vega or Jesus Ferreira at the 10? Who's better when Albert's not there? I would go with Ferreira at the 10, and I think De La Vega is looking real good out wide right now. I would not mess with what's working. Okay, Scotty. Scotty brought up what was the first topic that I was going to get to. So, great segue, Scotty. Let's do this right now. What's your take on the over the head kick move that Schmetzer was tilted over? All right, let's get into that. I'll nutshell the situation for anyone who has been out of the loop or doesn't know what is going on with this. It's going to require some screen sharing. So 1 second. But essentially, when Schmetzer was asked about De La Vega's performance by Jeremiah at the presser last night, he did praise him. And he obviously, I think, is happy with how he's been producing. But he actually, he tried to take him down a peg very clearly. It was not subtle. It was not like a backhanded, I'm going to try and take him down a peg. It was pointed. So I'm going to pull up the exact quote real quick. And then what I want to do with you guys is take a look at the play itself and see if we think Schmetzer is right about this or if he's off base. But I do. Okay, here it is. Had to find this. All right. I'm going to pause this real quick because we're going to go over it. But let me. Jeremiah says, last night, I asked Schmetzer about De La Vega's performance. He mostly praised him, but also said, quote, he's got to do better in certain moments. That flick over the head by the sideline, and then the other team comes down to score. That stuff has to stop. And he went on to say that he feels like, essentially, I'm paraphrasing this part, but essentially he was saying that the next phase of Pedro de la Vega's development is, understanding game state and being more disciplined. I think discipline is the exact word that he used. He said something to the effect of, to win a tournament like CCC, you have to show discipline in those moments. And he felt like De La Vega was not disciplined right here. So let's watch the play. This is the play that he's talking about. This is the sequence directly before Seattle conceded the leg 2 equalizer to Antigua. And so I think you have to understand the situation to understand what Schmetzer is saying. At this point, they are ahead 4-1 on aggregate. So the way he's thinking of it is that is a time to, especially right before the half here. This was right before the half. You got to get this to halftime with the aggregate lead intact. And that's kind of your assignment right there. You have to get to the locker room with the lead at 4-1. And if you don't do that, they didn't pass that assignment. And this is why, according to Schmetzer. Here we go. So you got De La Vega taking the ball on the side right here. Whoop. And then he goes back over that. He's just doing his thing. And then here it becomes chaos. And that's how Antigua wins the ball back. That is the sequence that leads to the goal that Seattle conceded in this game. So he was cooking. He was having fun out there. But Schmetzer was really not happy about this. He was not happy that he did this. And he called him out for it in the presser. So let's kind of take a slower look at this. So first of all, right, he's near midfield. So I think if you were deeper in the attacking end, maybe it's a little different. But if you lose possession over here, that it could create a dangerous opportunity. So really, you're trying to get this to the locker room here and definitely not give the ball away at this area of the field. So I think what should De La Vega have done, according to Schmetzer? What should he have done here? So let's pause it right when he gets the ball. So I think Schmetz's contention is that he needs to pass this back to JP right here. There's no need to start going loop-de-loop over people's heads, and you don't need to cook like this. You don't need to cook like this. So I guess what I'm saying is I understand what Schmetz was saying with this. I get where he's coming from. Me personally, I tend to not like any method of coaching that could be perceived to be squelching creativity. What makes De La Vega good and talented is because is part of what it is like he is willing to do stuff like this, try stuff like this, and that's what's made him fun to watch so far. So I want to see him as a fan, I want to see him do stuff like that more. But I'm looking at it as a fan for entertainment value. Schmetz is looking at it as a coach who's trying to win the game, win the series. So anything that could undermine that, he's not going to take too kindly to. But I think basically what Schmetz is saying with this is just time and place. Time and place. There is a time and a place to do stuff like that. This was neither the time nor the place, according to Schmetz. I can see both sides of it, not to try and be Switzerland, but like I can see why a coach would not be a fan of that. But I don't know if I would have called him out at the presser. That's maybe what I don't understand. Well, I guess, okay, I do understand. He is trying to calm down the hype train, which is already, it's too late for that. The title of my stream right now is Pedro de la Vega is a footballing demigod. But I think he's, like I said, he's trying to take him down a peg, anoint. Jeremiah used the term anoint. I think that's it. He's trying to pause everyone anointing him. And that was the example that he came up with. But I guess I would qualify that whole situation as a good problem to have. You're not trying to kill off the game in the series in that scenario if you're not already up multiple goals. So that's a good thing. And De La Vega he's looked awesome. The goals he scored last night were phenomenal. So I guess I don't mind in principle Schmetz trying to make sure it doesn't all get to his head. But there's just a part of me that's like, cook Pedro, do it again. I don't care what time of the game it is or where you're at on the field. Derek Richards, thank you for the $2 super sticker. Still not entirely sure what a super sticker is, but appreciate you, man. One of our biggest and best supporters. You the man. Anyway, that's my take on the whole Schmetz quote on De La Vega. What did you guys think about that? What did you guys think? Brian was in postseason Schmetz mode, and I appreciated the heat in the post-game presser. Yeah, he wasn't as heated as he was. The Charlotte game was legitimately, I'm not exaggerating, one of the most tilted I've ever seen him at a presser. I've seen them lose by multiple goals, and he hasn't been that tilted. I think it's because, we all know how much Schmetz cares about and is invested in the team winning. But I think the stadium was vibing so hard. The team had played so well in the CCC opener. The game was going really well. They were about to win the game. He wanted that dub for the crowd there just so bad to start the league season off on the right foot. And I think that equalizer just drove him up the wall. I think any coach that would probably drive him up the wall, but he was mad. De La Vega looked like how he played last season, except he played the full 90 and scored. That's it. I don't know if I think he looks a lot more confident and self-assured out there this season compared to last season. Last season, he had these moments, but it just felt like he didn't have chemistry with the teammates the way he does now, and B, he was pressing. Felt like he was trying to do too much. Right now, he looks like he is vibing. Looks like he's having a great time. He doesn't look like he's pressing or trying too hard. He looks confident. He looks sharp, and his end product is really good right now. He's leading the CCC Golden Boot race right now for whatever it's worth. That was the other thing I wanted to read out for you guys is just the stats we're looking at so far with the attack. 8 goals so far in the 3 games. They really could have and should have had more, but the chances that they're generating are very good right now. The XG, I was trying to find, does anyone know where you can find a Concacaf XG? I was trying to find it because I was curious about what they put up in that game last night, because I feel like it must have been quite high, and it was 1.77 against Charlotte, which is really good. Anything up towards 2 is really good. But anyway, you've got Ferreira with no goals, 2 assists, but he should have 3 assists. The breakaway that he set Jordan on through last night was a perfect pass, so he really easily could have 3 assists. Jordan's got 2 goals, no assists, but basically he had an in-spirit assist on De La Vega's goal last night. It doesn't count for him because De La Vega's shot off of Jordan's pass deflected back to him. So he doesn't get the assist there, but Jordan set up that chance. He was integral in the sequence. You got Rusnak, who I've got with 1 goal, 1 assist. Great assist to Jordan in the Charlotte game, and then a really important goal at the end of leg 1. And I thought Rusnak, he was my man of the match in the Charlotte game, so he's off to a really good start. De La Vega leading all players in CCC so far with 3 goals, and he really should have had an assist as well on the one that Ferreira had saved in Antigua, so he could easily have 4 goal contributions. And then you got Arriola with 2 goals and Georgie with 2 assists. So basically the reason I bring that up is, just to let you guys know who's cooking so far, but like everyone is eating. Everyone is eating right now, and that's what you want to see. That is what you want to see. And De La Vega, I'm not going to, people were saying, they were saying that Noah and I were like victory lapping too early or some such sentiment. I'm definitely, like, speaking for myself, I'm definitely not victory lapping. I would just say I'm encouraged and excited. I don't know how you couldn't be watching this team play through the first 3 games, but obviously they have to keep doing it. But if we're just talking about how we feel about what we've seen so far, I think it's looked great. Derek with a $5 super chat again. Thank you, man. Love you. Appreciate you. I'm excited for this team and the offense, but the next 4 games are a real test that will give us a better look at what the ceiling might be. All right, that's a good point. Let's pull up the schedule and look at that. Why don't we? Because I know they have RSL coming up next. I know they're in the CCC round of 16 coming up here soon, but I'll be honest, I have not looked at the schedule all that much in depth past Real Salt Lake. So why don't we take a look at this right now? All right. So Derek said next 4 games. Coming up next, Real Salt Lake on Saturday. Ooh, then it's the LAFC. It's the LAFC rematch. I believe that's in Seattle. Shouldn't it say that on here? Yeah, or the home teams first. They have LAFC at home on the match day after the RSL game. I will tell you guys, I was gonna get to it in the when we were talking about the rest of the CCC results. LAFC barely won their round 1 series in CCC. They beat the Rapids on away goals, but Colorado they had them. Colorado, God, my Rapids almost beat LAFC. They got really close. The Rapids, who I think are going to be pretty good this year, but they're no one's pick to be the Shield winner. You would think that a team with the stature and pedigree of LAFC would be able to handle the Rapids, maybe not with the ease that, say, Seattle handled Antigua. I thought that the LAFC was going to handle the Rapids over 180 minutes pretty easily. They did not. That series was 2-2, and LAFC went through on road goals. All this is to say that I'm sure, like, I'm not predicting LAFC's demise or downfall or saying that's an easy game for Seattle by any stretch. I would never say that given the history between those two teams leading up to the playoff game last year. But LAFC, they don't look super amazing right now. Seattle's had a much better start to the season and to Concacaf Champions Cup than LAFC has. So I guess what I'm more interested in with that game is what type of LAFC are we talking about? Because they have not looked like 28-19 plus 48 goal differential LAFC. And frankly, the Olivier Giroud signing, it's still too early to call it a bust, but what it's not too early to say is that if it does turn out to hit and he turns out to be really good for them, part of the narrative of that will be, oh, he started off really slow and didn't do much and then heated up. We are officially at that part of the Olivier Giroud narrative. I am not calling him a bust yet, but what I will say is that Steve C is smoking the Zaza if he is not starting Abobasi over Olivier Giroud. I don't like one of the last LAFC games I was watching, Giroud was starting over Abobasi. I don't get that at all. Like, based on what they've gotten out of him so far and Abobasi scoring a goal in their first game, I don't even know why they're trying to force it at this point. Yeah, Moose has more MLS goals for us than Giroud has for LAFC. That is a factually accurate statement. So they got to get him going. I don't know. That's not my concern, but they were hailed as the most ambitious soccer club in any league ever for signing him at age 38. So they got to get him going. That's the thing, man. Like when they signed Giroud, there were Seattle fans out there who were talking about like, oh, see, this is what a real club does. It doesn't always end up like that. I was someone who was predicting that he was going to bam in MLS. All right, so after that LAFC game, St. Louis away, who Seattle beat last time they played at Energizer Park or whatever that was, but that's not an easy place to play necessarily. But I'll have to scout up St. Louis a little bit, maybe look up a content creator, reporter I can talk to about them, because I'm honestly not super in the loop on them. But that does figure to be a tough away trip. And then the one after that is Houston at home. The Nico Ladero homecoming, guys. That's going to be weird. So those were the 4 games Derek was talking about. And I agree, those are going to be a good character test for this team. First of all, RSL away. That is not going to be an easy game, even with this iteration of RSL, which, if you haven't been following it, I can give you guys the scouting report on that. They look like they've had the worst start in the league They've had the worst start of any team in the entire league. They played Herediano, I think is the Costa Rican club. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. They played a Costa Rican club who they were favored to beat, and 0-0'd the first leg. Didn't look good at all, which that's one thing. But then they came home and promptly, at home, I believe, played their season opener against the Quakes and lost 4-0. 4-0 to the Bruce Arena-led Quakes, who most people, I think they're going to be improved because it would be hard not to improve off a wooden spoon 80 goals conceded season. But I don't know if they're 4-0 good, you know? So they got absolutely boat raced at America First Field. And then they bombed out of CCC last night. They literally, it was really funny too. I was covering all the games last night, so I actually watched all of them. And RSL was ahead 1-0, so they were in position to advance. Gave up the equalizer, had it called off on a pretty no, it wasn't ticky-tack. It was a foul in the build-up, though. Like, the goal they gave up was still really bad. They kind of got bailed out by VAR on a foul in the build-up. And then they gave up. Then they gave up the actual equalizer after getting bailed out. And then it was 1-1, which would have knocked them out. And instead of scoring a goal that would have had them advance, they gave up a breakaway to the Herediano guy. And the RSL goalkeeper came off his line, destroyed the guy for a penalty kick, and they ended up losing the second leg 2-1 when they were already going to lose the series anyway. So they're down really bad. So basically what I'm saying is that even with the challenges that this road trip presents, which is a road trip to altitude in a place where you historically pretty much never get results. I don't think they've won at America First Field since like 2011 or something, or maybe that streak ended, but there was some crazy stat for years and years. If Seattle goes down there and just plays how they've been playing, they can win. They should win that game against RSL in this state. Now, what I will say is that an opponent like in a situation that RSL is in right now is a desperate opponent. They're literally, especially because they know that Seattle is considered one of the best teams in the league right now. Pablo, ex-dog Pablo knows that if RSL comes out and beats Seattle at home, that would drastically help the vibes down there, which are horrendous right now. So they're going to be playing this game like it's the Portland Timbies playing the Seattle Sounders. You know how the Portland Timbies, every time they play Seattle, they channel their inner Real Madrid and don't really care that much about the rest of their games, but when it comes to the Seattle derby, they're just locked in. They're going to be that is what RSL is going to be on this game. They're going to be like going into it with that mentality. So Seattle's got to be ready for that, but this is definitely a wounded animal right now. This is an opportunity to buck some narratives and keep the good vibes rolling. If they go to, first of all, losing at a place called America First Field, you never want that. Go to America First Field, you want to take the dub. Ari just vibing right now, not knowing what is going on in here. Yeah, I have no idea. Are you guys still doing Moose Discourse? I was trying to steer it away from that, but we can keep doing the Moose Discourse. Oh, Robert, thank you for the $2 super chat. Sorry that I missed that. Appreciate it. Missed the Cruz Azul CCC matches. Oh, okay. I was just totally all right. So I was going off on I still think I had some good content there, but Okay, I meant RSL, Cruz Azul, LAFC, and Cruz Azul. All right, that's a good segue. I just cooked on the league matches, and I was mostly talking about RSL, which is in there. So the St. Louis and Houston analysis was pointless, but I think the LAFC analysis was actually still hot. Yeah, let's talk about the fact that they're playing Cruz Azul. That's a good team. I was looking at the team-wide stats for CCC today, and the only club that has more goals than Seattle in CCC right now is Cruz Azul. I am going to have to deep dive their team a little more, but I know that they have Mateus Bogus, who has a couple of assists in CCC, and they have Giacomakis, so a couple of really good former MLSers, and they scored 7 goals. They were playing a team from Haiti, I believe, so lower rated league than the Guatemalan top flight, I would venture to guess. But they've looked very good so far too. I'm going to pull up the Liga MX table as well. Let's see. Cruz Azul is currently 5th in Liga MX, 5-2-2, 13 goals for, 9 goals against, plus 4 GD, 17 points. So they're off to a good start in the league, but they're not like way out. Sorry, guys. All right. Oh, man, I can't have this. My hair's all screwed up. No. All right. This is what I look like now. Can't escape Bogus bangers. All right. I got to fix this. All right. That's better. There, it's better. I'm excited for this Cruz Azul series. Seattle beat them famously in 2022. And they also have Club America on this side of the bracket. That's why Noah was taking heat for saying that he thought this was the tournament Seattle was most likely to win. But I think it's a situation of like, you're going to have to go through them eventually. So like, just get it out of the way now. And I love watching these series against these Liga MX teams. I think they're great measuring sticks. And these are the type of games that you want to be playing in, honestly. Like, this is what it's all about. You get a chance to prove yourself on this stage again. You got to love it. Yeah, they're only 3 points behind Club America. If we can beat one of them, we can beat them all. Exactly. I'm going to work on getting some Cruz Azul intel, but Nico is always a great resource for Liga MX intel, and I'm going to pick his brain quite a lot on Lobbing Scorchers kickoff for you guys on Monday. So most definitely tune into that, and we are going to scout them up in great detail. I need the shit posting that will come with being the only MLS team to win CCL and CCC. That's a good point. They would be the this is the first, was it called Cup last year? I don't know. I don't know why they changed that. Champions League is just like a great name. I still call it that sometimes, and I kind of don't want to stop, but I've adjusted to Champions Cup. How many MLS teams do you think will make it to the quarterfinals? That's a good question. Why don't we, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull up the bracket. We can just take a look at it, see what the other, oh, okay. Before we do that, I'm going to hit this super chat because this was another topic that I wanted to hit. Robert, thank you for the $2 super chat. Appreciate you, man. How about Danny Leyva ballin'? Yes. The JP Danny Leyva double pivot. I thought it looked really good. I thought JP kind of looked like he had a bounce in his step, but I thought Danny Leyva did too. Tell me if you guys agree with this. I thought that was like, was that the best that Danny Leyva has looked? I feel like he has been sort of on the edge of really becoming a consistent contributor for a while. And he's very clearly a very talented and gifted passer, great long passer, always has been, has a great feel for the game. But I guess my question was always, are the physical attributes there? Like, can he run fast enough? Is he too skinny to kind of withstand the physicality, particularly of this league? I don't know. I really felt like last night was the most comfortable, but also dynamic. I thought Danny Leyva looked flat out dynamic at moments. I thought his ball progression was really good. I thought his passing was on point. Thought he was flying around. I don't know. I thought the JP Danny Leyva double pivot was really good outside of I think JP had like the one giveaway, but other than that, I thought he was pretty damn good. Was mostly pleased, a few bad moments, but not worried to see him starting again. So clean on the ball. Oh yeah, people are talking about the famous goal that was bullshit. That should have been a goal. All right, it looks like you guys kind of more or less agree with my Danny Leyva take. Oh, Joe, you came through with the Justin Dillon name drop. I still maintain. Well, I guess it was a foul on Justin Dillon. It probably was. I don't really quite remember exactly what happened, but I think he did foul the guy. JP off the bench is nuts. Yeah, like you guys understand, like a JP in that version of Danny Leyva double pivot would be like a plus starting group for most teams in this league. The fact that that's your backup double pivot with Danny Leyva looking like that, I think it also I think it made Danny Leyva looking like that, I'm sure made them feel more comfortable with dealing Josh Atencio. But it really, I think if Danny Leyva can just play like that all year, that makes the Atencio move even better, doesn't it? Because they got a $1.3 million bag for Atencio with the guy who's taking the minutes that Atencio would have gotten. I feel like I've watched Atencio with the Rapids a little bit too, and he looks good. He looks pretty much like he did in Seattle, which would be expected. But if Danny Leyva is even playing at a starting level, that makes the Atencio deal look even nicer. And right, exactly. Not to mention the incoming Obed move, which we'll see what the price tag is on that. I've been saying $20 million. Yeah, JP might be back. I'm not going to call him back, but he might be back. He really he talked about it in preseason. He said that he felt like he was more back physically now than he felt at any point last year. If that's true, and they have if they even have 75% of the best 11 version of JP, telling you guys, Atencio looked even more comfortable on the ball than other Rapids players. Other Rapids fans were saying the same. Yeah, and the other thing, like I was watching him play on the Rapids and kind of thinking about the attributes that I liked that he showed in Seattle, and if they were, if they looked the same playing with the Rapids, and he's really good at getting possession of the ball and just head forward and then just covering ground. I think it's clearly something that the Rapids needed, and they're going to benefit a lot from that. I feel like in general, okay, you guys can tell me what you think of this too, because there was the Jack McGlynn, similar idea, except he went for even double the bag. He went for double the bag that Atencio did from Philly to Houston. And it's honestly kind of I don't know about unprecedented, but it's the biggest bet that I've seen in MLS club make on a domestic talent like that. Houston shelled out $2+ million for Jack McGlynn on an interleague move. The Rapids shelled out 1.3 for Atencio. I think this new cash for player trade mechanism that these guys are moving under, it's going to be a huge boost for the clubs that have taken their youth development and their academies seriously and have developed guys that they can sell like this. McGlynn was supposed to go to Europe anyway, but I don't know if they could have gotten the same bag from a European team as they did from Houston. Atencio, that's one where if this cash for player trade thing wasn't a thing, like he might have just been kind of stuck. But now that they can do stuff like this, I don't know. But like what I was going to say is that, like, to me, it'll definitely benefit teams like the Rapids or the Dynamo that maybe aren't as it's kind of a symbol that you haven't really developed the surplus of youth yourself if you have to make a deal like that and spend that much money on it. To me, Philly and Seattle came out of those deals sitting pretty, like looking great. I would much rather be the team who is developing the player and getting that bag than I would be the team that has to, like, for Houston, the McGlynn thing. I like McGlynn. I think he's good, but they're like, it's a risk. They are taking a risk right there. Oh yeah, you guys are right. Atencio was game. Full game. I think the point kind of still stands though. It definitely does as far as the McGlynn take goes. Like, I would much rather be Philly than Houston in that situation, even though I think there's a pretty good chance that McGlynn is going to be good for Houston. That's going to be an interesting one to track because as far as I can tell from what I've read and just what I can gather from the situation, they're basically treating Jack McGlynn as the Ache like for like replacement. Ache, their whole team was built around him. So they're betting big on a domestic player moving to them for that big a bag, being like a centerpiece player. It seems like a lot of pressure on that. I think Colorado doesn't make the trade without the cash transfer because it makes it easier to get game from cash transfers. Yeah. Someone mentioned Paul Arriola in chat. Let's talk about him real quick because 2 goals in Champions League so far. I don't know. I was just watching that goal and I was like, damn, this guy is nails. They should have brought this guy in years ago. Just all the running he does. I've been saying that I feel like that's going to make him a really good fit on this team. Like his engine is just nonstop. But I think his end product might be a lot better than people were giving credence to. I was saying that I was higher on that trade than maybe most. Obviously, Ferreira got all the headlines between those 2 trades. But I love what I'm seeing from Arriola so far. I think he is looking like he's going to be one of the key players on this team this year, obviously. And really, I'm looking forward to obviously seeing what the whole team can do against Cruz Azul, but I feel like the FC Dallas boys in particular didn't really, to my memory, they didn't get really much of a chance to shine in CCC. Arriola played in Liga MX for a few years. So honestly, from that standpoint, he's also kind of a perfect guy to add to a team that has CCC aspirations. But like on his DC United and FC Dallas years, I don't really think that he got that much of an opportunity to show what he can do. So this series with Cruz Azul is going to be good, guys. I'm really looking forward to it. It's sort of bringing back the memories of I sort of going into CCC this year. I was telling myself I was going to try and enjoy it a little more. I didn't enjoy the 2022 games that much because the deeper they got into it, the pressure was just so immense. And then when they got to the final, once they made it to the final, then got the draw right in the first leg, then I felt pretty good. But I don't know. I had a lot of nerves for those games. I told myself I wasn't gonna do that for it this year because they've already won it. So obviously I want them to win it again. But if they don't, it's not like the biggest deal in the world. But I'm starting to feel those butterflies again, but in a good way. Robert, thank you again for the $2 super chat. Appreciate everyone who's been super chatting tonight. Love you guys. Thanks for the support. Would you rather have 09 Nate Jacqua or 25 Moose? Honestly, that question is like even slightly I mean, obviously I know Nate Jacqua from having heavily researched the early days, but that was before I was on the scene. And I know his role in the 48 seconds tree chop celebration, but I didn't watch him enough as a player to be able to answer that. What did Nate Jacqua have a rep as like an XG merchant missing sitters? I never heard that, but again, don't know much about him as a player. I'll take 25 Moose. I still think 25 Moose has some goals in him. I didn't like the pylon. Like I said, the pylon felt unnecessary. If he misses a game winner, then you can pile on. But they won 3-1, 6-2 on aggregate, and they looked awesome. So I just don't get why we got to be negative like that. Moose is trying his best out there. The Sounders get past Cruz Azul, they can beat anyone. Exactly. Like, that's how I feel about it. That's why I would rather have this matchup right now. Like, just get it done. Get it done. You're going to have to get by him anyway. And the thing I like about a two-legged series is that, with some exceptions, but in general, over 2 legs, 180 minutes, the better team usually ends up winning these. It's pretty hard to fake it or get lucky or get bailed out over 2 games. That can happen in 1 game anytime. You add another 90 on top of that, typically the better team wins. So may the best team win. May the best team win. Brian should have had Coach of the Year last year, and nobody can change my mind. We did a show about that, and I think his case was slept on. How many better coaching jobs have you seen, like, than what he did with Paul Rothrock? Like, Paul Rothrock obviously gets all the credit for making the most of the opportunity. But what was great about that coaching is giving him the opportunity, right? Like, trusting what you're seeing in training. And also, it was partially by necessity for sure with all the injuries, but he didn't have to give that to Rothrock. He didn't. And he coaches that. Schmetzer cooked on that. He cooked on that. And really all of last year to get that team with De La Vega and Rui Diaz functionally doing nothing the whole year, to get that team to the West Final and within 5 minutes of hosting MLS Cup is painful, because I still think that if they get by the Galaxy, they probably, I think they handle Red Bull in Seattle. So really that game arguably cost them another cup. But to even get them to that point, Schmetzer coached his ass off. Like, he really did. I think that coach of the year, I see the shout, but like, I think that's the best coaching job last year. I think that's the best coaching job he did since he took over, even probably more than the 2016 Cup, which was also some insane coaching. Do we get a glimpse of Brian's ideal 11 in the first match against Cruz Azul? Yeah, probably. I think from this point on in CCC, it's going to be as strong lineups as he can possibly put out there. And that's how it should be. Cachet, I think you're talking about Schmetzer. He's a product of his own success. He set the outside expectation for us so high that it's nigh impossible for him to meet it without multiple trophies in a year. Yeah, I mean, I think you're pretty dead on with that. And that's a good thing. I love covering a team that has expectations high like that. Like, not every, like this Cruz Azul series, you know, all the prep and stuff we all get to do for it, learning about this team, getting into the matchup, and then the games themselves. Not every club gets to play in games like this. Like, you got to earn the right to play in these. And they're a lot of fun once you get past the nerves of it. Yeah, I don't think Red Bulls were beating Seattle in Seattle. That's why it's so frustrating, because they almost had that Galaxy game. They almost had that. That was the real MLS Cup, was Sounders Galaxy. That was a good ass game. Like, I know it ended badly and it was only a 1-0, but to me, that game was that was two heavyweights going at it. Any West team wins the cup last year after the first round that happened in the East. True. Assuming you're referring to what happened to Inter Miami. Famously. All right, what was I going to do? I was going to pull up the bracket. Let's pull up the bracket and just take a gander at some of these other CCC matchups that we've got. When Schmetzer retires, do you want him to have a voice in who the next coach will be? I imagine he will, first of all. Like, I think they would consult him. And you know what? I think my answer to that is yes. Because like I said this on the last show, but like, there's literally not a single person on planet Earth who cares more and is more emotionally invested in the success of the Seattle Sounders than Schmetzer. Like, he's grown up with this club. He played for the club. He's coached for the club for decades at this point. He's won everything to win at this club. I have zero doubt that if he had input on who the next coach would be, that he would make absolutely sure that all his bases were covered as far as what his rec was, because he you could see it after the Charlotte game. Like when this team drops points or loses games or concedes goals, it hits him to the core. John says, I'm not worried about any Mexican teams anymore. Sure, we could lose. It's still soccer, but I'm not worried about how badly we will get blown out like those early years. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like, I'm going into this series expecting a dogfight. Like, I look at it as a 50-50 toss. I would be surprised if either team blows the other out. Like, I think it's going to come right down to it. And that is different. Like my early years covering this tournament, going into a series against a team like this, I'd be like, all right, well, you just got to pretty much absorb pressure the entire time and hope that you get lucky either by getting a penalty or a set piece or a counterattack or something like this. I'm going into it and I'm like, all right, it's a 50-50 match. Let the best team win. All right, let's look at some of these other matchups. Here's something that I think is funny, which is that, well, funny and also good, which is that LAFC got the Crew. So they get a rematch of the Leagues Cup final last year. But that means one of those teams is out of here, which I consider both of those teams pretty big threats. They're two of the best MLS teams. So we can do this discourse real quick too. The move that the goalkeeper did to De La Vega, that was another one that Jeremiah actually had clipped up. So I'll pull that up and then we can go back to the bracket. But yeah, this was another big moment from the game last night that everyone was talking about. Oops. Here we go. The big moment of controversy last night was this play. It starts with Pedro trying to nutmeg the goalkeeper in the corner, and he eventually gets shoved down. Hand is around neck, but I'm not fully convinced this is violent conduct. I'm okay with the yellow. Also, Pedro's teammates seem mostly amused. So I actually haven't even watched this back yet. I'll just tell you guys what my first reaction was when this happened, which was, I mean, anytime I see a hand up high, throat, face, neck area, you are playing a game, a red card game anytime you do that. And I saw that he went up towards De La Vega's throat here. And I was like, all right, I mean, I'm not going to make a big issue about it, but it could have been a red, I thought. But I'm going to watch it again with you guys right now, and we'll see if I agree with that take. Let's watch it. All right, so he tries to meg him. See, okay, this is what I'm saying. See, the hand up here, like this whole interaction in itself, I don't think is red card worthy. But like once you get the hand up towards the neck, you're least susceptible to it. And then he pushes him. Yeah, I'm good with the yellow here. It could have been. That's what I'm saying though. Like this, I don't like that. I don't like that. This whole play was funny because this is over by the corner flag. Like their keeper was he just charged out there, and they were in this little 1v1 here, and then De La Vega was pissing this guy off so bad that he did this. It's honestly a fire play by De La Vega. Jeremiah's right. Like look at Rusnak back here. He's literally laughing. Anyway, I'm good with that as a yellow. But that was a fun little CONCACAF play. I do think though, I don't know. I feel like I've seen that. Oh, another thing I did want to say now that we're talking about officiating, which I thought the ref was pretty much fine as far as CONCACAF standards. I actually can't remember anything like off the top of my head that was egregious. I could be wrong, but I thought he was fine. But dude, the VARing, I am a long time adamant proponent of VAR. I think you have to have it. I've said this even before they had it. Like there's too much on the line in these games with these calls. To be and there was too many instances where results were getting flipped and changing on wrong calls. So you can't have that. The technology is there. You got to have it. But that shit last night was taking way too long. Way too long. If you have to look at it for that long, then you have to leave the call on the field. And this is very simple. Like you give it like a 15 to 20 second look. And if you don't know 100% for a fact off that first look, then you pretty much have got to leave the call. So what I'm talking about is the Antigua equalizer. They called that offside on the field and then overturned it on VAR. The dude was looking at it for an hour and a half. There is no way that if he has to look at it for that long, that it's clearly and obvious the other, like, to be reversed. There's actually no way that that should have been reversed based on how long. I mean, I looked at it and it was a situation where, I mean, he looked onside to me, but I don't know. He called it offside. Like, you can't, that just took too long. It took too long. You got to have it. And I'm not someone who like claims that it's ruining the integrity of the game or whatever. Like, I'm not one of those people, but I was getting so tilted last night at how long that was taken. And then especially when they called the Antigua equalizer offside, and then he goes and takes an hour and a half to look at it. And then he's like, now I clearly and obviously see after an hour and a half that he was onside. What? I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Debatable, so the call on the field should stand. That's the whole thing. Like, clear and obvious. Does clear and obvious have no meaning anymore? Celebrating a goal hard and then for it to enter VAR 1 to 2 minutes later sucks. It does. But you got to get the calls right. I definitely agree. Like, one thing that I don't like about it is when your team scores a goal and you're like, yeah, and then everyone kind of has to wait to see if it's actually going to count. It does take a little bit of the organic excitement out of the moment, I guess. For me, though, like, that's not a reason to not have it, because you got to get the calls right. But frankly, I was surprised there wasn't even more crazy officiating controversies over the course of those first two legs. So I don't know. That was just something that was grinding my gears. All right, what was I doing? Oh, I had the bracket up. So Columbus and LAFC, Inter Miami have beaten Sporting Kansas City, the club of professional wrestling enthusiasts, and they're going to be playing a Jamaican side in the next round. So, I mean, they're going to be Inter Miami. It's interesting. I don't think anyone would call them necessarily the favorite in this tournament. I think they're probably the favorite. They're my favorite. I just think in any individual game versus any Liga Mekis club, I'm still picking the team that has Messi and the Barca boys. I'm kind of hoping Miami makes it to the final and Seattle makes it to the final. Seattle has to take down Messi for CCC glory. That could be crazy. Yeah, the refs in Guatemala, I thought they were pretty good. I kind of didn't think about it until I had my little VAR tangent, but there was not that many officiating controversies to my memory in this series. Oh, Jake, good update on the Whitecaps. I totally forgot that was going on right now. Okay, so yeah, Whitecaps are up 2-0, 90 plus 5. So they got pretty close. Club America is the favorite. So, okay, let me ask you about that, Kenny. Let me ask you about that. Club America is probably the pundit favorite. if we're talking a 1-game final, and it's Club America versus Messi and the Barca boys, are you really taking Club America? I could see the argument because Inter Miami passionately love to concede goals, but in one game, having the Barca boys is just, it's hard for me to pick against that. But I definitely agree that as far as like the conventional wisdom favorite, it's definitely Club America. Depends where it's at. I don't know if it depends where it's at for me. Let's see. Tom, I might bust out the lineup builder at some point and we can play with that. Let me know in chat if you want to do lineups. I don't know if that seems like a popular live show segment, but all right. Let's go to the other side of the bracket. That was where more of the okay, so this is interesting. This is kind of similar to the LAFC Columbus situation, except the Liga MX version, which is that you've got Club America versus Chivas right here. I don't know how good Chivas is right now, but I do know they won this tournament a couple years ago, and that would not be an easy opponent. So I'm hella rooting for Chivas in that series. I don't really think there's much of a way they beat Club America, but that would be huge. I feel like, I mean, either one of those teams, this is who is deciding who Seattle would play next if Seattle can get by Cruz Azul. Neither one of those teams would be easy, but if Chivas upsets Club America, that might be like a stars aligning type of situation. Cade Cowell, that's a sick name drop. He is on he is on Chivas still, isn't he? What are the chances of an all MLS semifinal? Not sure. I'll have to look at that. Probably not that good. I don't think. Not that good. Okay, this is a good matchup. This is a real good matchup. FC Cincy has been the other best MLS team in CCC so far, other than Seattle. And honestly, out of all the MLS clubs that advanced, Seattle had far and away the best performance. Cincy had a better result in the first leg, but then they only tied their second leg 1-1. Seattle won theirs 3-1. But Cincy do look very, very good. They're a trendy pick for the Shield. I can't say I disagree with that. I definitely expect them to be up there this year. And I'm going to have to like really get into the Liga MX research because I'm not totally sure what the state of Tigres is right now. I know they still got Gignac, but since he could get Tigres out of there, I think they can, is what I'm saying. Like, since he's looking nice, Evander seems like he's integrating well, which that was kind of my question, is how fast can they get him hitting the ground running? And then this guy, Kevin Denke, the striker they signed from the Belgian league, he scored in both their CCC games. He might have scored, and I'm pretty sure he scored in their first MLS game too. So he looks like a real player. If Evander's as good as he was on Portland, they're going to be really good on offense. And since he is rock solid on D too, so that's going to be a good series. And then, so the Galaxy have Herediano, this Costa Rican club that just upset RSL. Galaxy should win that, but the Galaxy, I'm telling you guys, they don't look that hot. They really don't. Neither of the LA teams look that hot. The Galaxy freaking lost to San Diego, who had never played an MLS game, which, credit to San Diego, they actually they looked pretty good. But the Galaxy, just won MLS Cup. Like, I know they don't have Ricky Puig. I know they don't have Joey Paints right now, but to get shut out at home by an expansion side, that kind of shows like the situation that the Galaxy are in right now. They've had to shed a lot of salary, and they've got some big time injuries, most notably Ricky Puig. So anyway, that's what the bracket looks like. I think the biggest series to keep an eye on here are Cincinnati and Tigres. I love that matchup. And then obviously Club America versus Chivas. I think we all got to be watching that series. We should all be watching that series. Oh, wow. This webcam like zooms in on me without, I didn't do that. I don't know why it does that, but it's kind of cool. But if you were wondering why it zoomed in on my face like that, I didn't do that. Oh, this is fun. This is a funny talking point. A lot of Mexican folks don't rate our CCL title because we didn't play Gigante Moderno. That's honestly not even Liga MX fans and media. That's also a talking point that has been pushed by United States media. I think it's funny. It's exactly what John said. It's cope. The whole idea that Seattle's path was easy is, first of all, not true. Go back and watch those road games they had to play in Mexico during that run and tell me those were easy games. There's no easy paths in this. There's not. This one that they have this year, if they get by Cruz Azul and then have to play Club America, it would be a harder path. But yeah, the whole talking point that Seattle's path was easy, so it doesn't count. I mean, it does count. The trophy is in the trophy case, so it literally counts. So it's factually incorrect from that standpoint. But it also wasn't an easy path. They also had even the MLS matchup they had against NYC. That NYC team had literally they had just won MLS Cup. And you guys remember how freaking hard that game in New York was? That was one of the hardest games. They were playing NYC at Red Bull Arena, and it was low key just as hard, if not harder, than a couple of their like road trips to Mexico. That game was like they were under pressure the entire time and gave up a goal, and then I think Rui Diaz dusted it. Have the camera, I think you do. There are hand gestures that change the camera's zoom and tracking. I don't know about that. I'll have to look into that. Didn't we not play one because Pumas knocked the Gigante off? That's also a good point. Like, I'm pretty sure there was chances for those supposed teams to make it further, and then they didn't. So whose problem is that? That's the easy path shit is so funny to me. It's laughable. It's actually laughable. It's laughable for us because we all watched every game. We know about the path. We know about that path. Easier path than some, maybe, but also like I also like the easy path argument as if it's something that the team in question can control. What do you want Seattle to do? This opponent is not rated high enough by the press in Mexico. We're not going to play this series. We're not going to play this series until you give us a team that the press and pundits have deemed worthy of a path that is sufficiently difficult. If not, we eliminate us. We're not going to play. We're not going to play. The path's it's too easy. Path's too easy. I'm not going to play. Is this a Galaxy pod or who's our new pet team this year? The Galaxy, the reason that we became a Galaxy pod is because I thought they were like my most entertaining team, I thought, to watch last year, just like eye testing. So that's why I started watching all their games and how the whole Galaxy pod bit started. So I guess I'll have to figure out what team emerges as such. There's like a couple teams who I wouldn't pick even if they were really entertaining and fun to watch. Like, I think LAFC in Portland, they could be playing like Real Madrid out there, and they would not be my pet team. Anyone else, if you're fun to watch, I will. That's the thing. The Galaxy thing was not ever a thing about like actual fandom. I would hope that most people understand that. I can respect an opposing team or another team that plays good ball. If you play good ball, I'll give you your due. I'll give you your respect. If you play good entertaining soccer, I got no problem. Why would I not give you your respect for that? That's why I didn't understand like why some people actually got unironically aggrieved about the Galaxy thing. I actually had people being like, I couldn't listen to this episode because you were speaking too highly of the Galaxy. I only listen if you trash on every other team in the league, even if they're playing well. It might be a Cincy pod. Although, Cincy are going to have to, like their brand last year they were kind of grinders. They were like 1-0 grinders. I guess was that more 2 years ago? Kind of don't remember. Easy Path are the same people who think deflections don't count as goals. Oh my God, that's a good reminder. I got to find this YouTube comment for you guys that set me off on that rant on the last show. What was it on though? What was it on? I'm going to have to pop around for a second. But it was the most unhinged like rant about how none of the deflective goals counted like that I've ever seen. Mark Fishkin's watchability ratings. I didn't Joe, drop the link in chat and I'll check that out. That sounded good. Yeah, most people liked the Galaxy bit. It's kind of like, okay, like, have you guys been following how I've been taking heat for using too much slang on the pod? Like it annoys some people, but then like most people, that's like one of the reasons they like us, So I did, I'll be honest with you guys though. I crashed out over that. I crashed out on Reddit. Noah saw the whole thing go down. Cause I mean, people were unironically starting to piss me off with that. Like, first of all, you shouldn't make fun of someone for how they talk. That's not nice. Second of all, like, I don't know what we're even talking about to be suggesting that someone else's podcast should change to like accommodate how you think people should talk. Don't listen to mine and start your own. Like, what? So it wasn't just that Redditor. It was a lot of people saying that shit. And then I crash out Chris. And anyone who saw that exchange on Reddit, I will acknowledge that it was funny that literally the first thing I've ever posted, the first and only thing I've ever posted on Reddit was me crashing out because someone was making fun of how I talk. And the guy, when he chirped back at me, he like noted that it was my first and only comment that I'd ever posted on Reddit. And I didn't respond to him again, but it was, Newman. It was, I became what I make fun of. I became Crash Out Chris. Anyone here is chronically online and used to the slang. Exactly. I guess it's a situation where on one hand, it's good because it means our audience is expanding. Like our audience used to be so niche that the people, like the only people who listened to it were people who kind of gravitated to it because we cover it a little differently. We talk a little differently. We use the slang and the lingo. And then it's our audience, I would say, even in the last like 2 to 3 weeks, has grown a lot. So we're getting people who I think are coming in new, and they're like, what is this guy talking about? It actually has been a legitimate issue in my life away from the pod. Cause like I had an older sister who used a lot of slang and abbreviations and nicknames. I picked that up from her. So I always like use abbreviations and nicknames and stuff. But sometimes my friends, like on the group chat, I'll say something and they're like, I literally don't know what you just said. So believe it or not, I key it back for the pod. I do. Like I don't. Sometimes when I get going, it's like even more of a different language. Deep Arriola. Yeah, this is hour and 45 minutes into Under the Lights where it goes off the rails. I really appreciate the I'm probably going to go around 2 hours. It's getting kind of late, but I feel like we've had a great turnout on this one tonight. We've had like over 100 people in here at different junctures, so really appreciate that. But I feel like these Thursday Under the Lights streams, this is for the sickos. Lobbing Scorchers kickoff is what gets oh, whoa, that was the zoom out. Whoa, watch this, guys. All right, I'm gonna have to toy with this. No cap, spitting facts, no cap, on God. GG's. I'm glad you guys like Timbies. That's like weird. That's the one that everyone accepts. I don't know why people think it's like so funny that I call them the Timbies. Appropriately condescending. I guess that's why. I think it's because they've been such a shit show the last, I don't know, what has it been, like 2 or 3 years at this point. Like the Timbies, it's like they're like a sitcom. It's like tune in for this week's episode of The Timbies, starring Phil Neville. And then it's like Phil Neville at the Blazing Hot presser, guest starring Ned Grabavoy. And then it's Ned Grabavoy like talking about how he's in an insane feud with his best player. It's a good sitcom idea. I've had a lot of sitcom ideas. When Noah and I were riffing on Atlanta United the other day, and we were talking, we were like riffing on how Garth and Chris were talking about replacing Miguel Almiron, and then like came up with the idea to replace Miguel Almiron with Miguel Almiron. I was thinking of an Atlanta United themed sitcom that's like a Ted Lasso vibe, and it's called Garth and Chris. And the premise is like Chris coming up with really obvious ideas, like signing Miguel Almiron, and then Garth's catchphrase is "Chris, you're cooking." Yeah, the viewership's going down on the sitcom pitches. That's fine. I'm gonna. I could write this stuff. This is like how I make it as a writer. Fern Tree, new YouTube member. Yay. Thank you so much. Appreciate that for the support. Everyone should follow Fern Tree's example. Derek, you're just the best, man. Thank you. You basically single-handedly keep Lobbing Scorchers going at this point. Phil Neville, no one really got it, I don't think, when he got hired. I know I didn't. Like, I never understood what was so great about his tenure with Inter Miami that they were like, yeah, we got to fire Gio, who's been a pretty good coach, upgrade to Phil Neville, who just coached some pretty bad Inter Miami teams. It's going about how I would think. Anyway, he's a great coach. They should extend him. I think a 10-year extension is about what's in store, and really commit to building the organization in his image. I want a strong Vancouver and a strong Portland. I want Cascadia be the teams to beat in the West. I can understand that sentiment. And like, honestly, I do think the rivalry is a lot better and more compelling when Portland is relevant. I gotta say though, like what's been going on with the Timbies now is pretty, like, it's pretty funny. I kind of love them as this sitcom debacle, you know. It's good entertainment value for all of us. And I would argue the sitcom version is more fun than the relevant version, which they were for years. But the other thing is that, like, I don't think them being a sitcom has had no bearing on the results in the Seattle games. They play the Seattle games like it's the last game of soccer they're ever going to play. If they played every game how they played the Seattle games, they would be a good team. They just basically the Timbies pattern is to sitcom it and torpedo until the Seattle game, and then they go, all right, we got to lock in. Got to lock in, boys. It's the Seattle week. We got to lock in. They go out there, play like Real Madrid, beat Seattle. After the game, they go, all right, we're locked in. That's going to be the springboard for our season. Going to turn it around now. And then they just either torpedo or are just not that good again until the next Seattle game. Seattle games are their MLS Cup. It's literally like Seattle games are bigger than MLS Cup to them. It's like, I think it's the only game that they're aware of. So Timbers fans were annoyed by that hire. They were. None of them. Well, because not only was Phil Neville not a very good coach, but he also had some like ill-advised tweets back in the day. It was one of those situations. So those research that, oh my God, it was such a shit show. It was such a shit show. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of bagging on the Timbies right now, but I will say this might be an unpopular take. I enjoy going to the games at Providence Park. I think it's a fun atmosphere. It's like a kind of a fun change of pace from covering a game in Seattle because it's just so different. Like an NFL stadium and an NFL press box, it's so much vast. I think there's something to be said for an environment like Providence that's like more intimate and like the fans are right on top of the field, you know? I'm not saying better or worse, just different and has merit in its own ways. I went back and listened to the interview Jeremiah did with Adrian last year. I think we're really lucky to have him as team owner. The guy is sharp. That is more controversial a take than you would think. A lot of people think he's broke. That's a talking point that got issued a lot this offseason. They say that he's broke. They say that he's ruining the club. My thing is like, I mean, I've said this before, but is he going to be dishing Arthur Blank money? No. And would it be sick to have an owner like Arthur Blank that could do that? Yes. But honestly, maybe someone explain this to me, chat. Why do we care as long as the team is winning? Seriously. Why do, like, what is it? What is the money? Man, I just turned Siri on my phone. What is the money, the transfer fees, all that stuff matter if you're winning championships?
I didn't get that. Did you try again?
Hanauer, like, whatever you want to say about his checkbook, he is a multi-time champion as the owner of this club. He's a multi-time MLS Cup champion. He is a Concacaf Champions Cup champion. So I used to care more that he wasn't splashing Arthur Blank money. But then they made a bunch of MLS Cups, won 2 of them, and won Champions League. And I was like, okay, whatever you're doing, I guess keep doing that. The whole he's broke storyline took off because the bag that they spent on De La Vega was comparatively small compared to what other, you know, like Atlanta United just dropped $22 million on Latte Loth. Like Hanauer isn't going to do that. But I don't care. He's got to keep winning. As long as he keeps winning and adding to the trophy case, you will never hear me spend 1 minute of my time like talking about him not dropping bigger transfer fees. I do think there is a possibility that the league will evolve to a point where however they're strategizing, it might not work anymore. But I mean, the team looks freaking awesome right now. We'll see if they can sustain it. But the roster that they built looks like one of the deepest that I've seen in a while without Atlanta United transfer fees. And those transfer fees don't guarantee you winning. That's the thing that I think people don't seem to acknowledge too. Atlanta United has been spending that much money, the Arthur Blank money, blank checkbook, no pun intended, for years. And they spent some of their least relevant time in the league when they've spent like the most money on guys like PT Martinez, who was terrible. Barco, bust. Throwing around cash like that, man, like it's nice, but definitely doesn't guarantee you anything. Anyway, my point with this whole discourse, because this discourse got especially heated over the offseason too, is just that like as long as he's winning, putting those trophies in the trophy case, I don't like the transfer fees. That ain't my concern. My issues with Hanauer is he's part of the finance committee holding back other teams' spending increases. I honestly am not far enough in the weeds to know about that. But if I'm talking about like the money that he's put into the infrastructure of the club and the roster, those numbers, the only stats that matter to me are wins. I sound like Noah now. I only care about expected trophies. Is Ferreira our number 9 or center attacking mid? Is Musovski our only sub for Morris up top? He is going to be playing both of those positions at times. Last night he was playing as more of a number 10, but you will see him play as a 9 this year for sure. And Musovski is not necessarily the only sub. I think Ferreira is who you would see as the second choice 9. But Musovski is the third striker. He is, yes. But no, he's not the only sub. All right. I'm going to turn on the lo-fi here as I go through these questions in chat here. I'm going to start the process of wrapping it up, but I'm good to hang around for a few more minutes. I'm not doing anything, so let me find this lo-fi, though. Thank you guys again for hanging out for another live show. Again, these are a lot of fun, and really enjoy getting to interact with you guys like live, talk to you in real time. Arthur Blank is an awesome owner. There is no doubt about that. I do think not that many owners are like that. I think you're right. Like for him, it is sincerely about just like, he kind of operates how I always say I would operate if I was rich. If I had as much money as these guys, I think about it sometimes. I'm like, what would I even do if I had that much money? What would I do? If I was like a billionaire, what do you even start? Like you could spend frivolously your whole life and never spend all that money. And I always think about it like I would tuck off like a few milli for myself just to live on, maybe like $10 million. I would literally give the rest of that shit away. I seriously would. I would ask people who know how to solve societal problems, how much money they need to solve it, and I would just give them that amount of money. Arthur Blank, he's still like a greedy billionaire oligarch to an extent, but I think in his head, he's like, literally, if Garth says he needs this much money for this player to make the team better, no questions asked. I will sign that check. I don't care. I'm Arthur Blank. What the fuck do I care about $22 million? $22 million to me is literally like a $5 bill. Yeah, go buy Latte Loth. Most owners either can't or won't do that. I don't think Hanauer can. He's not. Hanauer is obviously rich, but he's not Arthur Blank rich. Arthur Blank freaking didn't he found Home Depot or something? He's one of the richest people in the world. So because of that mindset, you'll never be a billionaire. Exactly. But like some of these guys, and that's what everyone says, but some of these guys who have a net worth of 48 billion or whatever, couldn't you give away 28 billion, still have $20 billion? What are we talking about? Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. To get that much money, you do have to be greedy. U22 striker in the summer. Chat, do you want a striker or a CDM? I kind of want to, because it's going to be interesting when they sell Obed. Because you have good depth at that position. But I don't know. Night Kenny, thanks for hanging out. Appreciate it. Got Leva, but what if you could get just a stud CDM, Keep Leva as the depth guy and then just have a super, I guess, it's kind of hard to find super polished U22s, but if you complain about Moose, then you want a U22 striker. I wasn't complaining about Moose. In fact, I see what you're saying. A lot of people were complaining about Moose, so I realized you weren't necessarily referring to me. But I was trying to get everyone off the Moose thing. I think in general, if you win a CCC series 6-2, you don't need to crash out Chris over the third striker. You won. You scored 6 goals in the series. You mad that you didn't get 8? Yeah, no, I got you. Catch tie? I got you. Hit on a striker, you're able to sell him later on at a price. True. Joe Atencio, but I'm thinking that's a good point. I feel like you could there's a world where you could scout it up and find a U22 at that position that's even more polished and maybe with a more dynamic skill set. Basically, you're looking for Obed. Obed replacement. Moose scored 6. Moose has scored goals in his career. I'm not sure what you're. Yeah, he does need to put some of those away or on goal. He is a striker after all. I think he would probably tell you. Last night, because the team played so well outside of that and scored a bunch of goals, I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny because when Moose does that, it makes Noah crash out. And that's funny. – It's actually a good point, Eric. They just churn out these 6s and 8s like it's nothing. Yeah, so this is an interesting point. Develops better at every other position other than striker, which is hard to find in the youth system currently. Like, the more I follow the youth development pipeline in Seattle specifically, developing a player like Jordan Morris is so hard. Like, Seattle deserves credit for doing that, but like, realistically, they got that kind of lobbed over the plate for them in that his dad was like the team trainer. He grew up around the team, and they sort of, it's not like they like went out and found him and then he became what he was. Like, he was sort of ingrained with the team always. Other than that, like, remember the Ocampo Chavez never really panned out. Like, they have churned out these 6s and 8s like it's nothing, to great effect, but it's just a lot harder. It's a lot harder in general to develop attacking players. Well, the U.S. Can't develop a striker to save our lives, yeah. But it's hard. Scoring goals is quite difficult. The U22 striker, yeah. Joveljic, that signing bangs, but like, he's pretty much the only U22 striker. AOC is your old roommate. That's a random pull. He was nasty for he was like the best player on those development academy, the Generation Adidas team that won that. AOC scored a ton of goals, and he was good for Defiance too. But he just, it's not even like just him, it's just like no academy striker. Omar Hassan. That's a good shout. If you don't know who that is, I think that is the name right now that has the best chance of bucking the trend that I've been talking about. He's playing for what, like the U16s or U15s right now or something, but he's a lot of fun to watch. He's been scoring a lot of goals, and he does Opa flips when he scores. So I'm hopeful about that one. John Duran was the other U22 success. I forgot about him. I mean, he looks like he could be one of the best players in the world, except he got, didn't he get sold to the Saudi league? USMNT has not had a solid international striker since Clint or Jordan Morris, you know? I'm just saying. All right, last call for any questions before I get out of here. Probably got a couple more minutes. So anything Sounders, MLS, Concacaf Champions Cup related that you want me to hit real quick before I log off, go ahead and send it in. If you haven't done so, please like the video. That is very helpful. Like the video, sub to the channel, leave us reviews on Apple Pods, iTunes. Thank you guys for all the super chats tonight. There was a bunch of them. Love to see that. Derek coming through as always, but there was more people super chatting tonight. Appreciate that. Glad you guys are still enjoying these live shows. This was definitely the best turnout for an Under the Lights so far, so appreciate that. Derek, you seriously can stop now. The stream's pretty much over, but thank you. how much is Georgie going to be sold for next year when he goes supernova this season? So this was an interesting debate that we were having in the press box the other night with I was sitting with Jeremiah and Tim Foss, and I brought up on one of our pods with Noah that if Georgie keeps playing like this, we might have to start talking about his transfer fee. So I was talking about that with Jeremiah, and he was like, I'm not really sure about that because he seems to think that. So I don't know if everyone knows this. Actually, I'm pretty sure most people know this, but maybe some people don't. Georgie is blind in one eye. He's literally blind in one eye. It makes his story all the more insane. I don't understand. It's because he's been blind in one eye his whole life, so he's just used to it. The fact that he's able to maintain like the depth perception that he is kind of astounding. Like I would think that would mess with your depth perception a lot, but it literally doesn't seem to affect him at all. Jeremiah was saying that fairly or unfairly, probably unfairly, that might diminish his transfer stock because other teams from Europe or whatever it might be might look at that and see that as a hindrance, or at least something that depresses his value. Could be true, but I feel like if he becomes like a star this year, say he has like a crazy year, just for the sake of argument, like double-digit goals, 15 plus assists. They really gonna care that he's blind in one eye? Like, I don't know. Literally, you couldn't tell. You couldn't tell from watching him. It doesn't affect how he runs. It doesn't affect his passing. It doesn't affect So I don't know. I think maybe that would depress his fee a little bit. But I feel like if he balls out and goes supernova this year, it's going to become a discussion because he looks so dynamic. He looks like he's got those physical gifts that you can't teach, right? So yeah, exactly. If they can't see how good he is with their two eyes, then they're doing worse than Georgie in his one. Yeah. Who's going to score on Saturday? Who you got, chat? I'm hoping to see a Jesus Ferreira goal soon. Although he might not. He probably isn't going to start. Should have done lineup builder. I'll do that on the next stream. It's too late now. Rothrock. Zippy Tuna, thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated. Don't think we've ever had a winger as explosive. I kind of agree. Like Jordan at his peak when he was playing out there comes to mind. Georgie honestly kind of reminds me of that era of Jordan. But there's almost something like more explosive about him. Just one of those guys where kind of just looks different when he's on the ball. I've loved seeing the end product too. Zakawani eraser. That's a good shout. That's a good shout. Zakawani shouts. V-Rod. Oh, comparing him to Zach. V-Rod is like the type of Sounders winger that I think we're all used to, you know, hyper technical, cerebral. There hasn't been like this team doesn't typically like put all its stock in physical traits and athleticism. Like this is always like a hyper technical team, but also, you know, of dogs, grinders and gamers. That's sort of the Sounders identity that I think of. But guys like Georgie and Jordan, like, you got to have them. You got to have them. Step over king. It's just like it feels like every time he has a defender one-on-one, it's over with. He's going to get around that guy. Very, very hard to stay in front of him. Watching the Antigua guys try and defend him was hilarious. It was hilarious. They couldn't do it. All right, folks, 2 hours and 15 minutes. I'm going to call it right there. Thank you again for another banger live show. Appreciate you guys. We will be back at it. I think Noah and I are actually recording a regular pod tomorrow morning, I think. So that should be out before the game. I don't know. I should know my own schedule. I don't know it. I think we're going to record one tomorrow. And then I will for sure be back at it 8:30 or 8. I always say 8:30, 8 a.m. 8 a.m. on Monday for Lobbing Scorchers kickoff with Nico. If you have not stopped by that live on Monday mornings yet, you should. It's a great way to kick off the week. And I'll have some. I'm gonna text Nico tomorrow and tell him that we're gonna be going hard on laying down some Cruz Azul intel. He's the guy who follows that stuff more than me. Like, he knows what's up with Liga MX. He's gonna be able to tell you guys about Cruz Azul. So definitely, if you want to know about them, stop by that and you can ask him questions in chat and he will tell you whatever you want to know. Yeah, Tim Ream had no clue what to do with Georgie. The other funny thing about that too, I forgot to do that too. I'll get to it some other time. They let Georgie do a press scrum. They had Georgie do a press scrum at Long Acres, and someone asked him, like, did you know you were going up against a U.S. World Cup veteran? Like, what was that like? And I'm pretty sure Georgie was like, I don't know who that is. I didn't know that was Tim. Or you either didn't know who Tim Ream was or had no idea he was going against Tim Ream. But that's kind of baller, honestly. All right. Like the video, sub to the channel. Probably going to have a pod out this weekend. Enjoy the RSL game. I'll see you all on Monday for Lobbing Scorchers kickoff, 8 a.m. as well. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. I'm out. Don't want to give money to the oligarchs, but love Lobbing Scorchers? Do we have a deal for you? MLS Season Pass is back on Apple TV with access to every single MLS match, including Leagues Cup and the entire Audi MLS Cup playoffs with no blackouts. It's not just the games, you get total access to the pre- and post-match MLS 360 whip-around show in both English and Spanish, and get live look-ins and highlights from around the league, as well as full match replays and recaps. Now, you can support our show by visiting lobbingscorchers.com/Apple TV to purchase your subscription and support our show.
Lobbingscorchers.com/Apple TV. Please, don't let the oligarchs win.